get everybody to quiet down. You did fabulous, so thank you. I did not have to do that this evening. I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Alpaugh Family Economics Center Annual Awards. My name is Doug Bolton, a proud member of the Economics Center Board and your MC gatekeeper, trying to keep us on time this evening. We're about 10 minutes behind schedule, but hopefully we will be able to make that up and get you on your way to enjoy this great Cincinnati evening. This program is about recognizing educators and business leaders who have made huge commitments to financial education, financial literacy, and then of course to our community. So we're here to celebrate them. And I think you all know, you'll hear a little bit about this tonight, about how the impact of financial literacy and economic education improves the outcomes for our youth in this community. It not only makes them more receptive to handling their money, it also improves their decision-making skills, their strategic thinking, and of course, we're here in the East Club Lounge, the beautiful East Club Lounge. And, you know, football has a connection to strategic thinking, critical decision-making, and we can't think of anybody better than to make that connection for us this evening than Cincinnati Bengals coach Zach Taylor. So it's great to be here. Yes, let's give him a big round of applause. The first of, I'm sure, a couple. So it's great to be here tonight celebrating his success, our hometown team's success, and the spirit of winning that they brought to our community. Now, I'd like to thank a lot of the sponsors with us this evening. Your support, obviously, is already providing great dividends for the Economic Center and being able to provide the economic education, the programs that we deliver in this community. If you have not had a chance to be part of that sponsorship and you are so moved, on your program there is a QR code. All you have to do is scan it. You knew that there was going to be a pitch this evening coming. All you have to do is scan it. It'll take you to a form. You'll see some programs. You'll see some levels. If you are moved to make a donation this evening and you've not had an opportunity to do that either as a part of your sponsorship or you're a guest of someone who was a sponsor, we would obviously greatly appreciate your support. So we've got some awards to give out. We're going to hear from Zach Taylor, but it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the chair of the Economic Center Board, the chief legal officer of Fifth Third Bank. Let's give a warm welcome to Susan Zonbrecker.
All right. Well, the first thing Julie asked me was, do you think you need a box? I'm like, maybe. No. I'm okay. It's clear. So that's good. First of all, I want to say, hooday. Hooday! Come on. So excited to be here. And then I also want to say go Reds. So love both. All right. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate the introduction. It is my great honor to serve as board chair for the Alpaugh Family Economics Center. On behalf of our board members, thank you for joining us today as we honor some exceptional individuals and hear from Coach Taylor, coach of our hometown heroes, the Cincinnati Bengals. I would like to start by recognizing and thanking all of our sponsors. I've got to get this closer. Where are the logos? Yes, here they are. You see them? We're very grateful for your support. In particular, I'd like to call attention to our platinum sponsors, Fort Washington, Peter Alpaugh, and a company I'm pretty familiar with, Fifth Third Bank. And they're all down here. Hey, Fifth Third. I would also like to thank and recognize my fellow board members. There should be a list up there. Yes, there they all are. It's very small. We have a wonderful board, big board. Your dedication to the center's mission is an important part of what makes this organization very successful. Thank you for everything you do. I've been a member of the center's board for 13 years, and I'm finishing my second year as board chair. Every year that passes seems to bring new programs, new opportunities, and new recognition and awards for the center. Cincinnati is known for its nonprofits, but I think the center is most unique in both the quality of the work we do and the recognition the center has received. Board members are rightly proud of the work the center does, but it's not just the board that holds the center in high esteem. For example, in this past year alone, one of the center's premier national programs, Smart Path Puppets, received not one, not two, but 3 Emmy Awards. Emmy Awards, that's fantastic. This same program has received 4 National Curriculum Awards and was a finalist for a Public Media in Education Award. The center's research team received the Chairman's Award from the African American Chamber of Commerce for the work they did measuring the impact of Black-owned businesses in our region. And our director, Julie Heath, received a National Leadership Award from the Council on Economic Education. You know what? It would just be easier to show you the awards that the center has received rather than try to list all of them. But we did get some Emmys. That looks good. I like it. There's our brag wall. But more important than the national recognition the center has received is the impact the center has had on teachers and children, not only here in our region, but across the country. The center is the leading organization in the country offering economic and financial education. We are also the leading organization providing applied research to the community. In both instances, we are known for our creative approaches in education, in our ability to engage learners of all ages and abilities, in research, in our ability to tell data-based stories that resonate with our clients' missions. We are known for the quality of our work, and we're known for the thought leadership the center and our director provide. Julie tells the board after every meeting that her goal is to make each and every one of us proud to be a part of this organization. She really does do that. I can tell you without a doubt that all of us feel that pride with every meeting, with every interaction with the center staff, with every new award the center receives. We, all of us, are so proud of this organization and are thrilled to be a part of its growth. I would like to now introduce our fearless leader, Dr. Julie Heath. Julie is the driving force behind the center and all of our success. She is the special leader that brings intelligence, expertise, hard work, humor, and creativity to her role. Not bad for a PhD economist, huh? These attributes have been integral to all areas of our success, particularly in her build-out of the center's fantastic staff. Where are they? Wave your hands, staff. Julie has hired, nurtured, and developed a winning team. Though she will humbly defer to her team, it takes a great leader to create what we have here. As chair, I've enjoyed working closely with Julie, and if you check the tenure and the temperature of the other board members, you will find many, many longtime contributors, as well as new board members who are as proud as I am of our efforts and successes. With this, I present Dr. Julie Heath.
I don't need a box, just a little height adjustment. Thank you, Susan, and thank you again to our sponsors and board members. We couldn't do any of our work without you, so we're very, very grateful. And speaking of gratitude, I just had a work anniversary. Last month, I celebrated 10 years at the center, and this will be my last year. I'm retiring at the end of December of this year, so I'd like to take this opportunity, my last annual event, to do 3 things. First thing I'd like to do is to thank you. I grew up in Bellefontaine, Ohio, small little place. Did my undergraduate work at Bluffton College, now university, but I didn't really know anything about Cincinnati. I've been here a couple of times. When I was a kid, we came to a Reds game at Crosley Field, and all I can remember thinking is, this is so much bigger than the Logan County Fairgrounds. But I really don't remember much else about it. when I was in high school, I was a member of MYF, that's Methodist Youth Fellowship, and we came to Kings Island. Unfortunately, my boyfriend also was on that trip, so all I really remember is all of the hand-holding that we did in the van going and coming. But again, we didn't really know much about Cincinnati until we moved here, which we almost didn't. My predecessor, George Bredeveld, had recruited me for the job, but I was really thinking about turning it down. My husband convinced me that we should come here. So you can thank him or blame him, however you come down on me. But I had no idea the city would be so welcoming. I had no idea that I'd so quickly lose the drawl that I had picked up in my 26 years in Memphis, although y'all still figures prominently in my language. I had no idea this would so quickly become our home. So thank you for your warmth, your welcome, and your personal support. To the board, oh my goodness, such wonderful people. You've opened doors, you've been advocates, and you've brought your considerable talents and intellect to our thorniest problems. Everything you could want in a board and more. Thank you for your abiding friendship and for your grace as I've made my mistakes. I'd also like to thank my colleagues at the center. I have never worked with or known such wonderful people. They are dedicated, ridiculously talented, and even though you can't tell by looking at them, they're so weird. They're really weird. It's been the honor of my life to work with them, and I will miss them more than I can allow myself to think about. Thank you, guys. So that's the first thing. Thank you. The second thing I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about our work, and with apologies to Coach Taylor, I'm going to shamelessly steal the Bengals rallying cry. It is us. It is us informing the community about the tremendous economic engine Black-owned businesses represent. This was the first work of its kind in the country, and we did it here. It is us as we conceptualize and quantified the disincentives that can sometimes occur with investments in human capital for those receiving social service benefits. Sometimes this implicit tax is 90% or higher, making it difficult for people to work their way out of poverty. This piece of work was so groundbreaking that the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank adopted it and used it for their own geography. And when developers need analysis for their mixed-use projects in order to vie for state funding, that's us too. We did 1/4 of the entire state's work in that area last year. On the education side, it is us providing economic and financial literacy that leads the nation in several areas. We've expanded our award-winning platform, SmartPath, to address 2 important areas of diversity and inclusion. First, thanks to a grant from Fidelity, we have created resources and materials that tie the platform to racial and social justice issues. How can we talk about poverty and increasing the access to capital if we are not, at some level, also talking about financial education? How can we talk about economic development, workforce development, without also talking about financial education? We also expanded our platform to include a population that literally no one else has, those with developmental disabilities. It is us, with funding from Truist Foundation, creating one-of-a-kind resources that link the platform's materials to those with learning abilities who, more than any other population, need the protection that their own good decision-making affords them. How can we say that we have provided these children our best if we haven't also taught them financial education as a way to maximize their independence? And we're starting on the 3rd leg of our SmartPath Diversity and Inclusion Initiative by translating the platform into Spanish. Thanks to the generous support of board members Bill Nyer and Nathan Backrack, their wives Karen and Marcy, and Nathan's former partner Ed Fink and his wife Nancy. It is us creating innovative, one-of-a-kind content using puppets. You met one of the puppets at the registration table in his Bengals togs, partnering with a Sesame Street ventriloquist, WCET, and our own Bootsy Collins. Content that, as Susan mentioned, has won 3 Emmys. We've created additional content, Smart Path Snacks, little minute-long snippets of puppety fun that address financial education for pre-K through lower elementary. And thanks to the generous support of board member Nora Clark, we're back in the studio creating more puppet music videos with our ventriloquist and with Bootsy. So stay tuned for more releases and hopefully more Emmys. It is us, running step stores with the help of business volunteers, teaching children that sound decision making gives them some agency in their lives. They make choices about coming to school on time, behaving well, doing their homework, and they earn step bucks in the process. Then they make choices about what to do with that money. They buy school supplies, or frisbees, or jump ropes, or they can save for larger items like footballs or gift cards, including Kroger gift cards, which they take home to help their parents pay for food. Or they can donate to a classroom-chosen charity. And if you think the lessons begin and end with economics and financial literacy, let me give you 3 examples that will change your mind. At Roberts Academy, where one of our award winners tonight, Michelle Judd, teaches, some of the students are still wearing masks, even though they no longer have to. When we asked Michelle about that, she said that some of the children are still wearing masks because their families can't afford dental care and they're ashamed of how their teeth look. And these same children spend most of their money on presents for their friends and family, or they donate. Or there was a little boy, a 3rd grader, at another one of our partner schools who had been to the step store and came back and was so excited. So excited. His teacher asked him why he was so happy about that particular trip. And he said he was happy because that day was his birthday. And he got to buy himself a couple of presents. He bought a water bottle and a football. These would be the only presents he got that day. Although he didn't get any presents at home, he was happy that he got the opportunity to buy himself something at the step store through his hard work and his decision making. Finally, and this is appropriate, I told you this story at my first event 10 years ago, so in case you don't remember it, I'll repeat it. When I was in Memphis, I started a statewide financial literacy program, which is still going on, actually. And as part of that, I was talking to some kids in a classroom. I was in a 4th grade classroom in Memphis. And I asked this little boy what he had learned from the program that he just went through. And he said, "I've learned how to make good choices." I said, "Well, that's great." I said, "Do you think this is going to help you when you're a grown-up?" And he said, "Oh, yes, ma'am, I do. Now I know I shouldn't join a gang." I cannot overstate the impact of economic and financial education. It empowers children, it gives them agency and hope. It is us creating opportunities for our community's children so they can learn the power of decision making, the power of choice, the power of knowledge. They deserve that, and we are honored to provide it in its many forms. Finally, I'm to number 3. Finally, the last thing I want to do is to introduce my successor. His name is David Mann. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Cincinnati already has a David Mann. this is going to get very confusing. Well, for one thing, our David spells his name differently. I keep trying to tell him that I think it should be pronounced Mahone, but he seems to be pretty set on Mann. So that tells you one thing about him: he's really stubborn. Maybe as time goes on and you get to know him, it will become less and less confusing. Silliness aside, David is a fantastic choice. He is the best choice. He's smart, he's creative, he's committed, and he is not going to be filling anyone's shoes. David's got the talent and the vision to lead the center to even greater things, and I look forward to seeing what that is. David, one more time, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I won't hold you. Julie, thank you so much for the gracious remarks. I don't have anything prepared. I just do want to say a couple things just briefly. Thank you to the board, to the hiring committee at the University of Cincinnati for your support and the honor that you've bestowed upon me to lead this great center. Julie has been a great leader over the past several years that I've known her in the entire network, and I'm looking forward to the transition to leadership of this amazing center. If you're here, you already know how important the work that is being done is, and you have adopted Julie's mantra of doing work that matters. I hope to continue the great work and build on that foundation, and thank you again for being so welcoming. For those of you who have supported the center, thank you for that, and I thank you in advance for the work, for the support that you'll give us in the future.
So thank you, Susan, Julie, David. David mentioned it, work that matters was before it is us. So let's watch this video that'll give you a really good picture of the work that matters, both on the research side as well as the education side. Let's roll the video.
When we talk about work that matters, we are talking about serving students, families, and our communities by delivering the kinds of skills and knowledge that make lives better.
I think you can see the impact right away. As I mentioned, going from the first school of the year to the last school, you see that they're learning things that are really valuable and that they're going to take with them the rest of their lives and are hopefully going to make their lives better as they learn to budget and save money.
My favorite thing about STEP is just really being able to go in and engage with elementary kid students in a real way, you know, where they're making contact and you know, having to engage with adults and do math and figure out problems, and I think it helps to build their confidence, but it helps us to give back as well.
Our Susan Sargent Student Enterprise Program, or STEP, teaches children that their hard work and good behavior in school matter. That not only can they earn STEP bucks, but they also have the power to decide what to do with them.
But they're also learning a new skill, which is balancing their budgets and being fiscally responsible with their money. And they're all just so proud when they're able to purchase something for themselves and then have money left over to donate to somebody else.
Children who participate in STEP are learning to make thoughtful choices. They can use their earnings that quarter to buy needed school supplies, a treat for themselves, or gifts for a family member. Or they pass the bins by at the STEP store to save for a bigger prize at the end of the year. One of the most inspiring parts of STEP is watching young students, many of whom are from underserved communities themselves, decide that the needs of others come first by contributing their earnings to charity.
I would say 80% of the students shop for other people. It is a very minority that buy only for themselves all of the time. There's always a gift, and they keep track of that on a sheet that we have, and we put stickers when we give to people because I want to teach them to be generous.
We know financial education matters and that it's never too early to start introducing it to kids. That's why SmartPath now includes those Emmy-winning puppet videos for preschoolers, in addition to the curriculum for elementary and middle schoolers. And it's why our Executive Director, Dr. Julie Heath, provided support to State Senator Steve Wilson successfully enacting a new law making personal finance class a graduation requirement in Ohio. Our commitment to the work that matters extends to our research team too. Our researchers' work to measure the economic impact of Black-owned businesses in Greater Cincinnati was the first of its kind in the U.S. And that analysis, now continuing on a larger scale, gives local leaders a clearer picture of the vital role those businesses play in building stronger, more vibrant economies and communities. More informed students, business owners, and local leaders, it is all work that matters to us and to you, and none of it would be possible without the support of our donors, volunteers, school, and research partners. Thank you.
So those step stores are all over. They require a tremendous network of administrators, teachers, volunteers, but it really takes a special teacher to make it work. And so tonight we're recognizing as the Susan Sargent Step Leadership Award, Michelle Judd from Roberts Academy. Let's watch this video as Michelle comes up.
I happen to have adult children at home, and so watching them struggle through how to save and whatnot prompted me to dive into this and go beyond just the quarterly shopping, because I just do what I think is right with financial literacy. It's built into my weekly lesson plans. So the kids and I set weekly goals regularly. We look at where they are and what they want to save for and what they can do to earn the extra money in the book, and also budgeting. So it is just a real life experience for them and getting to do that. And it's fun. They shop for other people. So some kids budget around birthdays in their family, some budget around holidays. And so watching them own it and really want to earn the money to spend it wisely has been my prompting force. So not just is it helping motivate them behavior-wise, but they're using their math skills in a real-world application to check where they are and where they want to be. It's that aha moment when the light bulb goes off and they get it. And it makes me teary because it could be the littlest thing for some kid, like understanding a simple word, or it could be huge, like having finally saved up and bought an actual Kroger gift card and they can give it to their mom to help with groceries. It's those moments that just touch your heart, and you take them home and you share them with your family, and they get excited and they rally behind your classroom. I feel like I am blessed to do what I get to do, and I get to come to work. I don't have to. I get to come to work, and parents entrust and give their children to me every day to love them, to hold them accountable, but most of all to have fun while we're learning together and to build a rapport with them and teach them that people are in their corner. It is just being a family with your teachers and your kids. It's the best job in the world.
A very small token of our appreciation. Thank you very, very much. So the next award goes to our School of the Year, and this is Covedale School. I think there's some kids here from Covedale, so come on up. Let's watch this video.
It was so rewarding to know that our students and our teachers were getting this special recognition for the work that we've done with UC Step Store.
This is something that I wish that I would have done in elementary school, to be able to just give real world experiences, you know, because sometimes as a kid I thought my mom just magically made it happen, but this is a great way to learn and help give that experience.
Get good grades, be here on time, don't get marks. Technically just being good.
Encouraging our children to understand about giving, understand about saving, and understand how do I make my payments so that I can be independent and support myself and my family are key to their being successful citizens.
It's been great to watch the kids make decisions because they're seeing how much certain things cost, and they know how much they have to spend. So they're making that decision, okay, I could spend all my money on this thing, or I can put it back and get multiple things.
And the interaction that we get between the students and the partners that come in to work with the children and take the time to really help them understand what financial literacy is something that's just precious. It's not the kind of support that we get every day in the schools. And the children enjoy that special time with these adults who are in the financial field who are coming in to help them.
And so representing Covedale is this great team. That leader of the team, Michelle Kipp. Congratulations. Thank you so much. So our next award is the Personal Finance Educator of the Year Award. I know all of you understand what a challenge teaching has been in the last 2 years. Even under normal conditions, teaching is very difficult. But our award winner is a teacher in a very unique situation. RJ Catledge comes to us from Cleveland, where she works in a detention center in Cuyahoga County. Let's watch this video.
Financial education is extremely important to me with the population that I work with because I feel like they have made choices that are based on finances. So because of lack of resources, I feel like some of my students have allegedly committed the crimes that they have in front of them. And so I feel if I can help them see that there's another way to do things and earn money, that may make the difference for their lives.
When I first came here, I was a knucklehead. I was causing alerts, like fighting and stuff. I ain't like no style, nothing. I always gave people attitudes and everything.
When the pandemic first started, I tried to be a ray of hope for my students. I was really concerned about what was going to be happening to them because they couldn't have visitors, they couldn't have activities being planned for them. So I was really concerned about their mental well-being. My goal was to find things that I could do virtually that would help them see that they still have a future and to still just kind of give them a sense of hope when it wasn't looking very good.
With RJ teaching financial literacy and education to the kids, she's allowing them to have power once they leave this institutionalized setting and get back into society. They will definitely need these resources. They'll need this knowledge about investing, about keeping a checkbook, about taking care of everyday finances.
We're gonna get out of here one day. Do something while you're here, at least try to get your diploma, anything.
I think the thing that motivates me to come to work most days is knowing that my students need hope, and they usually see me as somebody who's going to make them feel loved, feel needed as far as in the classroom. I greet them at the door and I make them understand that they're a part of my life just like I'm a part of their life. So when we come together, try to love on my kids as if they were personally mine. And so I think that the true motivation is just being here for them and making sure that they know somebody cares for them.
She loves the staff, she loves her kids, she loves the Downtown Education Center, and most of all, she loves sharing knowledge and information about financial literacy and education. And we all appreciate that. Thank you, RJ.
Big round of applause for RJ. Thank you very, very much. So our next award is the Economic Empowerment Award. We are presenting this award to Nick Sargent, who is with Fort Washington Investment Advisors. You've heard Nick's name, actually the name of his late wife, Susan, many times this evening, who's a brilliant economist on her own. But we've talked with a few people who are giving us some insight into our award winner, Nick. Let's watch this video.
I first met Nick Sargent in 2002. He was our first true outside senior hire in the investment side, and he brought a new perspective to us. He was affable but smart, congenial, but truly knew his business.
He's easy to get along with. He makes an effort with everybody. He's so personal, so affable, so intelligent, and a lot of fun.
But the one I was amazed was, again, Wall Street, I always just think it's sharp elbows and a little bit of feast or famine. So I was always so impressed that he could remove himself from that part of the job. It resonates with people, and that's why they kind of migrate towards and look to him for advice. The other thing, too, was just, yeah, as I said, was so engaged in other people's success. You know, it wasn't rivalries with the other people who were very bright and were aspiring and moving on. It was kind of just friendship and collaboration. And so
one thing that was amazing about my dad still to this point in time is, you know, being an international economist, you could ask him about any single country, any single like current event that's happening. He already knows about it. He's read up on it, and he has a view on it as well.
Nick fit in beautifully. I think he really liked Cincinnati. I know his wife did as well, and they were just so engaged. Nick has devoted much of his time and like this gift and stuff to honor Susan's memory, and what a memory.
She believed in financial literacy. She believed in education, and it was in her bones. It wasn't, she didn't do anything to be trendy. She just did it. Both Nick and Susan really believe in education. I don't think they ever thought you could ever get too much education. I think they realize that that's the lifeblood of, if people are going to be successful in their life, they have to be educated. And the fact that she can do it in her honor is wonderful.
I think it was probably the biggest honor that my dad could have given my mom. My mom was probably the most self-sacrificing and giving person that I've ever known. She started out her career, or like her PhD was in education economics. It was a passion that she, to some extent, sacrificed to raise all of us. And so to bring that full circle is, definitely perfect.
Our associates at Fort Washington are very active and love to donate their time and effort to the STEP program. So it lives alive and well in her name.
So I think, first of all, having been an economist all my life, the most important lesson is to be humble. It's really to know what you don't know, because I thought along the way we knew a lot of things, and I'm finding out the world's more complicated. But I think that in the end, it gives you a framework to think about big issues. And also, as far as the center is concerned, you want to make good decisions and teach that at a very young age. And I think that economics is a very good background to make good decisions. It's a surprisingly high percentage of these young people who really want to help other people. And, you can't teach that. I'm just thrilled with that, and I know Susan would be as well.
She was dedicated to the community, and she cared deeply about educating youth. And so for him to have found a foundation that combines those two things, I think he couldn't have found a more perfect tribute to a fantastic person. Sorry.
So, Nick, if you want to make your way up here, we're very happy to have John Barrett, the Chief Executive Officer of Western Southern, to present the award to Nick.
Thank you, Doug. On behalf of all of us at Western Southern for Washington, and especially, where's Pete Alpaugh? I saw him walking around here somewhere. Here, Pete, you and all of your friends who've supported this wonderful institution, we're so happy to be blessed with Nick's presence, and he, more than anyone else, deserves this award. One thing that's about Nick you got to remember is he is a two-handed economist. And no matter what went wrong, he'd go, but on the other hand, it could work out. You know, I'm like, Nick, we're investing a lot of money into stuff. But Nick, you were awesome, still are, and congratulations. Thanks, Paul. Now the roast can begin. Thank you all for this honor. It's not deserved. I realize this is, for me, the Academy Awards on behalf of the award. Now, so it's really, most of my remarks are going to be thank yous, but I do have to tell you, though, at the outset, when Julie and we become very dear friends, told me that they'd like to consider me for the award, and I said, well, I clearly don't deserve it, but I'm happy to accept. I didn't tell her, if you had come to my family, 4 sons, student athletes, trophies galore. In our room, one was mine, math and science, in high school. So I waited 60 years. Thank you, Julie, for, it's been a long wait. And I would only say worth the wait. The second thing, I didn't know what would be in the video. You should know, in the Sargent family, the boys, we're not into kumbaya, we're into trash talk. So when I see my sons, I'm going, why didn't they ever tell me that? So the one story, the oldest, Dan, he was the one, we called him the rebel, but I still remember we learned at an early age what to expect. He's in first grade, it's show and tell, and you're supposed to tell what mom and dad do. And so he publicly announced that his mother and father were communists. What can I say? So with that, this is now the part of the Academy Awards where you say your thank yous. So first of all, representing the Sargent family is Paul. He's special. He says he's my favorite. I can't, of course, tell his brothers, but, you know, we go. Okay. My friend and companion, Judith Bishop, who for the last 5 years has lifted my spirits. Life is worth living. Thank you, Judith. Then John Barrett, and I don't know, I was expecting the talk about when he asked, what's the probability you'll come to Cincinnati? And I said 0.0, and you know, and he lands me. He could sell ice to Eskimos. Okay, he's that good. I saw his list of awards, and I said, my God, he's more famous than Johnny Bench. Mary Beth Ray, we both worked at J.P. Morgan but didn't know each other. But when we were trying to decide would we be a good team, we had 100% unanimity on who were the good guys and who were the bad guys. And that's why we're a very effective partnership. But together, both of them taught me more than business. They taught me the importance of community and philanthropy. And then, all right, we've got friends from Fort Washington, Western Southern, who have participated in this program. But I would say this, I've been east, west, north, south, never seen a group more dedicated to the community. So you can't all stand up, but I watched CODA. Let's do a round, guys. Who's CODA? Yeah, thank you very much. And so lastly, you know, I just want to say, when Julie approached me about, you know, what could I do to help out the program, and in Susan's memory, the truth of the matter was, Julie, you had me when you said, would you? But I decided to make her work. So I asked the question, you know, there are many charities I'd love to give to, but I want to make a difference. Okay. And she correctly identified we're a weird family. How many families do you know that have 6 econ majors and 4 math minors? We have no artistic talent whatsoever. I called the boys the 4 Philistines, and Susan said, well, actually, there were 5. So, but we're grateful for, so anyway, when she approached me, you know, I just realized now, you've used, I said, tell me. So she told me the story of the fourth grader, and I go, done, you've won it. But I would say lastly, thank you for having me come out and see the STEP program in action. And what touched me was the enthusiasm of the students. But what also touched me was seeing my Fort Washington colleagues engaged with these students. And so I would say in conclusion, I'm bi-coastal. I didn't say bi-coastal, meaning West Coast, East Coast. This is my first time in the heartland of America. And I would say, hats off to you, Cincinnati. It's the most community-oriented, philanthropic place I've ever seen. Only one disappointment in the 16 years I was here. The Bengals could never win a playoff game. So thank you, Coach, for finally making it happen. Thank you.
So our final award is really special, and so Julie's got an encore.
Yeah, this is awkward. I give this maudlin goodbye, and here I am again. I'm here to present the Center's Founders Award to John Frank Jr. This award is not given every year. In fact, this is only the 3rd time I've ever presented it. The Founders Award is given to those individuals who have had a profound, lasting impact on the center. Individuals who have given of themselves to such an extent that the center would be lesser without their involvement. Individuals like John. You all know John Frank. You know that he's a Harvard man with a degree in economics. You know he's been a successful businessman, and then he branched out into real estate and was successful there too. You know he's been chairman emeritus at Cushman Wakefield since 2017. And I'm skipping over the details of his career because they are so remarkable that you already know them. That's how profound an effect he's had on our community. You also know that John has dedicated himself to our community, rising to leadership positions in the business community and on board after board. You know him for his integrity, his talents, and his character. You know that his achievements are such that in 2019 he was named a Great Living Cincinnatian, an honor that he says is second only to marrying his wife, Susan. Aw, right? Well, we know that person too. We also know John as the tireless volunteer who joined our board almost 20 years ago and who found a home within our mission, for which I am profoundly grateful. John has been the longtime chair of our development committee, not for the faint of heart. We know John as a person who has thrown himself heart and soul into all aspects of what we do. To us, John is the one who steps up time after time after time to reach out to individuals he knows and some he doesn't, to set up a meeting, to make an introduction, to solicit a sponsorship, all without anyone asking him to do so. I know John as the person who, when I share good news with the board, he was always the first to respond with what I can only describe as sheer delight. I know that when John asked me to present on the economy to a group that he's a part of, he introduces me with a pride that I really wish I merited. I know how much of a treasure John is. I know he's wickedly funny, and he loves to tease, and I know he's caring and tender-hearted. He's the most charming curmudgeon I have ever known. I'll give you an example. A couple months ago, he calls me up, and we're talking, and he's talking about David, my successor. And he says, so how old do you think he is? I don't know, late 30s, early 40s? I don't really know. And he said, well, that's good. The last time we hired an executive director, she was so old, she retired after only 10 years. Charming, right? Let's roll the tape.
You know, people say, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And John has lived this his entire life. And most definitely as CEO of the companies that he's run, how he's treated his employees throughout the years is evident in how he's continued to walk that out even after he's retired. He has always had a heart for people, especially young, aspiring children and young adults. And he's also inspiring me, you know, as a leader here in Cincinnati Public Schools here at Withrow University High School.
I mean, he grew up with that. That's what he knew. You know, his sister's been a longtime hospital volunteer. That's part of the family DNA. And he's really, you know, he's made it his own. All the different things that he's done, I couldn't, you know, even begin to go through all of them. But, you know, it's been a lifetime for him of dedicated service in the community, in the religious community, in the business community. And he's made himself available one-on-one through Big Brothers, through Winners Walk Tall. You know, he's constantly giving back. He's been in a lot of different businesses. He's knowledgeable on a lot of subjects, but I think what's allowed him to remain so vibrant in business into his 80s has been just the heart that he has and the way that he has in terms of communicating with others.
He has many qualities. He's very kind, he's very generous, he's very open-minded, and I love all those things about him. He's fun and funny sometimes, not all the time.
He is someone who just enjoys other people, who enjoys making other people laugh. He's someone who puts himself out there a little bit. Again, you work with plenty of people who you say, oh, you know, great sense of humor and really lightens the room. But he's always taken that a step further. I mean, he would really come up with creative ways to reel people in. And he still does. I mean, you talk to a lot of the people that he worked with full-time at Cushman, and they'll tell you he's still working on it. But, you know, it's always been about relationships.
John has been really an icon, a legend in the real estate industry for a long time. To be around him is to just experience optimism, opportunity, adds a lot of enthusiasm to what we're doing in the city, what we're doing in the industry, ways to improve, ways to change.
He shows up and he works and he cares. When he is on a board, he's not there just, you know, to listen and occasionally make comment. He is there to work and to provide critical input and to audit. He is the type of board member and the type of leader that you want, because he's going to get you that critical input, and he is not only going to be unafraid to tell an organization what they want or need to hear, but he's also going to find a diplomatic and a thoughtful way to express it without getting under people's skin. But you know, I see how much work he continues to pour into the activities that are meaningful to him, how much he continues to do through Cincinnati and other organizations. And I think to myself, boy, they are so lucky to have him, because he is fully engaged and knows so much about this community, and he's just willing to work.
One of the things that everyone has to understand about education, students come to school because they know there's consistency. And John has been consistent throughout his career. And it's no different when he put his heart and mind towards helping our young people be at their very best, whether it's reading books to elementary students, encouraging high school students, or even as he's mentored so many different principals, throughout the entire school district. He has dedicated his time. You know, relationships require time, and students know that someone cares about them when they consistently see them coming into the schools and making sure that they have everything that they need to be successful.
I feel like John thinks that's important for the young people that he works with to know how important they are and that they can contribute to society and to their family and to their schools.
This economics center could end up being totally a national force for teaching kids about financial literacy. And because of the politicking that the staff did, the state of Ohio now is going to require financial literacy in their in public schools. And I think that is amazing, and that's another benefit of having an agency like that in Cincinnati. So the university should be proud of the Economic Center. I'm proud of it, the board's proud of it, and the staff's wonderful.
You know, when you are teaching or mentoring or guiding others, you know, you're speaking into the lives of generations. And John has had the opportunity to speak into so many lives and so many generations, and he's not done a whole lot of talking, he's lived it by example. And that is the mark of a great leader.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium someone whose achievements you know well, who has had a profound transformational effect on the center, and who I have come to know over these past 10 years as a dear, beloved friend, Mr. John Frank.
Well, thank you, Julie, and I thank the board and the staff of this organization. And you've heard me talk about what I think about it. I looked at myself talking. I said, I don't look that old, do I? The fact that I'm going to be 90 in June, yeah. And I promised my wife I'd live to be 100 at least, so now she's all upset. I want to say, first of all, I appreciate very much this award. And secondly, I want to thank the people on the video. And Kevin Hughes, where were you? I don't know. He was supposed to be in that video. And Jaron Gray, the principal of Withrow High School, is not here. He's supposed to be here, but he's not here. But at any rate, the Cincinnati Association has a program where business leaders work with principals in high school, in all kinds of schools. And I've been doing this for a number of years, and Jaron Gray is an amazing principal, and I've learned more. It used to be called the Principal Mentoring Program, but now it's called the Leader to Leader Program, because those of us who work with principals learn a lot more than they get from us. And I wanted to, George Friedeveld got me on the board about 20 years ago. George, where are you, George? Right here. George ran the organization from 1977 until 2012, right? And then he asked me to be on the board, and I didn't know much about it, but I learned about it and became very enthusiastic about it. And when he retired, he said, I'm going to go out and find the best person in the country to take my place. And he found Julie, so he did. He did that absolutely, and now Julie's very enthusiastic about David, and I know David's going to do a great job. So secondly, I just want to recognize my family here, because children and stepchildren, and thank my son Charlie for, he runs the Reds Community Fund. He loves the Reds, but he's more passionate about trying to help people and help little kids, and so he does a wonderful job. Thank you. And I'm going to just say to my stepson Scott and his wife Heather, today is their 25th wedding anniversary, and I appreciate their being here. I also want to mention back there, sitting back there, is the Davis family. I want to hold their hands up. And Ken Davis, there's a program called Winners Walk Tall, and I did that at work, go in once a week and talk to a couple of classes about various values that are important. And I met Ken when he can actually be called Kenneth now. I met Kenneth when he was in the 2nd grade, and he graduated from Withrow a couple of years ago, and now he's going to Cincinnati State, and he's studying to be a medical technician. Is that? And so and that was, I took him on as a little brother through the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Greater Cincinnati. And it's been a pleasure to see him and his family here. They're wonderful. Right, okay. And as was mentioned before when I said, my wife Susan is so wonderful. She is. And she's so positive. She is one of the most positive human beings I've ever met. And she keeps me on the straight and narrow for sure. She does. She does. And Julie has been a wonderful, wonderful leader of this organization. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for the fact there's so many things in the United States of America that maybe in the world that we don't teach our kids. You know, it's reading and writing and arithmetic. And there are a number of things we don't teach them and we should teach them. And the Economic Center is doing such a wonderful job, and it's probably the best organization of its kind in the country. And it's just been a terrific honor to serve on the board. And so I want to thank I also want to thank, I have a lot of good friends here who were very generous and bought tickets or tables and came here to, I guess, to see me, but I hope they were impressed with the center as well. And I want to thank everyone who was so kind and came here tonight. So with that, I say good luck to everybody, and let's root for the Bengals to win the Super Bowl next year. Right?
All right, Brian, you want to come on up and get our program centered? So I think all of you who attend nonprofit events in our community know the magic behind those nonprofit events is a great committee, and the magic behind that committee is a great chairperson. Our Economic Center has that in Brian Brockhoff, who will be introducing Zach. Brian?
Maybe I need a box also, Doug. So, no, it's really exciting to see all of these smiling faces and all of you for joining us tonight. As a board, we came up with this idea 14 years ago to start this awards dinner, and each year it just gets better and better. And obviously, without the success of the committee as well as the sponsors, we wouldn't have the success that we're experiencing this evening as well as over the last 14 years. So I'd like to first thank all the committee members. I think we have a slide of the committee members. They're also on your program. So without the committee, again, we wouldn't be here this evening with the success. And then also just the leadership of the center. We've heard many nice things about Julie, but Julie does have a super team with Sue, with Kathy, with Erna. They truly are the wheels that make the bus go round and round. So thank you to all of you. And then next, I'd like to thank the sponsors. I think we have another slide with the sponsors. I'd like to start with the Bengals. We reached out to Troy and to Katie Blackburn in July, if you can think about it. And Nick and John and Zach, I promise you, we didn't think that this would be opening day. So here we are. But without Troy and Katie, we actually honored Katie in 2017 and had a very, very successful event. But without Troy and Katie, I don't think we would have had the honor to hear Zach this evening, which we're going to hear in a couple of minutes. Then I'd also like to thank our platinum sponsors, John Barrett, Jack Schiff. I saw Jack. Jack, obviously you've got a little friendship with the Bengals, and you've been involved with the Bengals for a number of years. Susan with Fifth Third, Jake Warm with Warm Construction, and then DJ Hodge with iHeart Radio. And then lastly, I'd be remiss not to say thank you to Julie for the 10 years that she's just led this organization to a whole nother level. We've had unbelievable success, and I think our committee meetings have been pretty fun, and you always bring a lot of levity to it. So thank you very much. So it is my honor to introduce Zach. Zach William Taylor was born, next month will be his 38th birthday, so we'll be celebrating his birthday soon. He was born in Norman, Oklahoma. He came from a football family. His father was a coach, his brother's a coach in the NFL today. He was around football pretty much his whole life. Ironically, his wife Sarah, her father was Mike Sherman, the legendary coach of Green Bay. He's been around football just a little bit. He was a coveted quarterback coming out of high school. Ironically, he really didn't get a lot of attention, which is surprising. So he went down to Wake Forest, started with the Demon Deacons, ended up redshirting, made a transfer, ended up at Nebraska, and then became the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year his senior year at Nebraska. He knows a little bit about quarterbacks, as we all know, with seeing the Bengals the last 2 years. From there, he went into coaching, and he started, ironically, with his father-in-law, with Coach Sherman down at Texas A&M. He then came to UC, ironically with the Bearcats this evening. He was the offensive coordinator with UC in 2016 and really became more of a quarterback guru, more of an offensive-minded coach. He then joined the Rams, coached a pretty good quarterback in Jared Goff, took him to the Super Bowl, and then on February 4th, 2019, the Brown family hired him as the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. He married his wife Sarah in 2008. They moved to Cincinnati, as I mentioned, in 2009. And from speaking with several friends with the Bengals, it's really been apparent what he's brought is just harmony. He's brought cohesiveness. He's brought collaboration. He never wants to be the center of attention. Our father used to always say there's no I in the word team. And that's really what all of the players and the family have all just really been so impressed with him, is that he just has built this unbelievable karma that's with the Bengals. And we obviously experienced that through Christmas and then obviously into January. And I think he's also really united the city. Working downtown for the last 35 years, it's always fun with the Reds, the Bengals, when the ATP's here, et cetera. But those last 3 months of the season were just magical. And to see the fans in Bengal gear and to see people around that were traveling in for games and so forth was really, really special. So I'd like to welcome Zach as our guest speaker for this evening. Zach?
Thank you, Brian. I feel like this is important to say, but unlike Nick, I am not a communist. I feel like I need to get ahead of that before we get going here. But he gave a great background of where I'm from. And like he said, I grew up, I was born and raised in Norman, Oklahoma. I've lived in Manhattan, Kansas, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida, Lincoln, Nebraska, Winnipeg, Manitoba, my least favorite, Los Angeles, and now Cincinnati. So for me, it's been 12 different moves. And like he mentioned, my wife Sarah comes from a football family. She's got 22 moves. She's got me beat. So between the two of us, we've lived in about 25 or 26 different places across North America. And I can promise you, there's no better authority on the subject than us. Cincinnati's the best. I mean that. We've lived a lot. It's the only place we've gone back to. We've traveled around a lot, but in 2016, we lived here for 9 months, and we came back. And, you know, I want you all to picture something, you know, because he mentioned I transferred from Wake Forest to Nebraska. And so I transferred in the middle of my sophomore year. So just imagine me, January 5th, 2005, transferring to Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't know anybody. I'm expected to go compete for the quarterback job there in Nebraska. That feels like the most important thing I was brought in to do. And my first day on campus, I'm meeting with the athletic advisor, the academic advisor for football. And he says, "What is your major going to be?" And I said, I think I want to major in business. He said, "Great." Okay, and he rolls me in econ, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, accounting, Tuesday and Thursday. A couple other classes on top of that. I thought, this is a piece of cake, no problem. Then that afternoon, again, my first day on campus, I go meet with the head coach. And he gives me this. This is what he gives me, my playbook. He says, "You got 30 days to figure this out." So needless to say, I was in a bit of a dilemma. I go to my econ class, and what did I study? Econ? No. I brought my playbook, and I studied my playbook. So what happened? I failed econ. I changed my major, and here I am, 15 years later, speaking at the UC Center of Economics in their annual awards banquet, just like I imagined 15 years ago as I was changing my major. So I appreciate that. I mentioned those towns, though. You know, Norman, Oklahoma is where I was born and raised. I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think my wife spent her high school career and college in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I think the reason we love Cincinnati so much, because it feels very similar to those three towns. And not in the size, and not in the economic growth, anything like that, but just the people. And that's what's so special to us. It's why we ran back here. And a story that I don't tell very often is when I interviewed for this job, because we lived here in 2016. We spent 9 months here, fell in love with the town, lived over there in Mount Lookout. It's where we live now. And after 9 months, we got kicked out of town and had to leave. And it was one of the few places that we felt very tied to and were emotional. We didn't want to leave. We didn't want to go to LA and work for our now arch rival, arch nemesis LA Rams. It's okay to boo. That's okay. Go ahead. So after 2 years there, we had some successful seasons, made it to a Super Bowl. And I got the opportunity to interview for some head jobs. And one of the jobs was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think Sarah's words to me when I went to the interview was, if you don't get the job, don't come home. And so I went to the interview, and you do 3 of them kind of back to back with some different teams. And so there's a waiting period when you get finished with the interviews. How'd I do? You don't get a lot of feedback. And Duke Tobin called me and said, hey, you've got the job if you want it. I said yes. Within him even finishing the sentence, I accepted the job. But the dilemma was we were still in the playoff race. And the quirky rules in the NFL are you can't admit that you have a job while you're employed for another team in the playoff race. So it's kind of this funky little rule. You can't say anything to anybody. I didn't want to lose this opportunity, so I didn't tell a soul for days. My wife didn't find out for 5 days that I had this job, even though she asked me every hour on the hour. I said, honey, I don't know. I don't know. They haven't called me. And so one day she called me. And I could tell she was having a bad day. We have 4 little kids, and she was stressed about something. And I finally just said, do you just want me to take the Bengals head job or what? And there was just silence on the other end. And I couldn't reach her. She wouldn't answer. I keep calling. And our director of security reached out, and he said, I think she's in Utah. She started running back to Ohio. We found her. She's in Utah. She dropped the phone, and she started sprinting on foot to get back to Cincinnati. And so we've been here ever since. But that just shows you how much the city meant to us in the brief time we were here, because of the people we connected with, the restaurants, the shopping, unfortunately, for my wife, and just all the things that you could be a part of. And I think that's what people here who grew up here understand that, what's so great about Cincinnati. People who have moved here, like myself and my wife, we understand it. The people who have never been to Cincinnati, they have no idea what they're missing out on. And I think when you scatter around the country and you talk to people and you say, I live in Cincinnati, oh, how's that? It's great, it's the best. They don't believe you. And we don't need them to believe us, because this is our special secret right here in Ohio. Our airport's in Kentucky, which is very confusing. But it's a great place to be and to raise a family and to be a part of just everything that's going on in this great city. So I appreciate you all welcoming us, because we felt very welcomed in the 3 years that we've been here and feel like we're a big part of this. So that's awesome. Credit to you all for that. One of the reasons why I think you've seen our team ascend over the last 3 seasons, because I do feel like we've come quite a way over the last 3 years. And one of the things is the people that we have in that building. And the people make everything work. The people make everything worthwhile. And we look for people who bring a couple different traits to our building. And we want players and coaches who love what they do, they love who they're doing it with, and they're willing to do anything it takes to make special things happen. And that's what you saw this year. It took time. It took several years, I promise. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to face adversity along the way, whether you're building a sports team or you're in a business, you're starting a business, you're joining a new business, whatever it is, going through school. There's always going to be those challenges. But we look for certain kinds of people to make it right in our building. And we have a definition of what a Bengal is. So when we got here as a coaching staff in 2019, I got our staff in a room, and I said, we need to define what a Bengal is. And we came up with PHAT, P-H-A-T. It's a physical, hungry, accountable teammate who's willing to do their all to get the job done. You don't hear anything about talent, although that is mildly important in the NFL, I can promise you, okay? But we feel like if we get a bunch of guys that are physical, I don't recommend that in the workplace, I do recommend it in the NFL, hungry, accountable, and teammates. They care more about those around them having success than they care about their own success. And they're willing to do anything it takes to get the job done. Then as long as we have 53 of those guys, which we do now, you got a chance to do everything that we've set forth to do. And I think that's what you saw this year was a locker room full of 53 men that were willing to sacrifice anything for their own good and for their teammates and for the city and everything that makes this place so special. And you saw a special year, but we're not done yet. We got more to come, right? I think we can all agree with that. And so when we started building the foundation of our team in 2019, we had to begin with the end in mind. You don't start from scratch and say, okay, we're just going to get a little bit better. We needed to talk about the things that aren't common to talk about. We want to win Super Bowls. So when we win Super Bowls, what do we have to do from day one to make sure our guys understand what it's going to take? We set the same standards in 2019 for that 2-14 team that we had today. We said, what do we want it to look like when we're a Super Bowl team? We're going to talk it. We're going to act it. We're going to strive for it every single day, even though it may not make sense and guys may not buy into it, which I promise you there were guys that didn't, because change is hard, different is hard, it's not easy. Nothing worth having is easy, I promise you that. And over time, guys started to slowly rise to that standard. It wasn't always through the wins, sometimes it was through the losses, but they always slowly rose to that. We wanted our players to have full ownership of everything that we do. That's not always common with every team. There's some old school coaches that I'm going to tell you how it's done and then we're going to do it. That's not really our cup of tea, okay? We want our players to understand the intent of why we do everything, and so that they can have ownership and that can spread throughout our locker room. And we want to empower every player and every coach in our building to take ownership of our offense, our defense, our special teams, all the leadership aspects that come with it. We want everyone to feel empowered and have ownership so that we can reach that highest level. And again, that's what you saw this year. You saw guys that were captains at their universities, that were used to playing for championships. And the more people we added with that same vision and mindset, you saw some special things happen from us this year. Again, we're not done, I promise. We wanted to establish a workplace where everybody wanted to walk in the building every single day and they were excited to come to work. It didn't mean that they were going to have a great day and practice wasn't going to be hard and the coaches weren't going to be on them, but we wanted to create an environment and a culture where when you woke up in the morning and you drove to work and you walked in the facility, you were happy to be there. And I think probably everybody in this room has been somewhere at a school, at a business, part of a team, where maybe it didn't always feel that way. And I know I had, and I learned a lot from that, and I needed it. But we wanted to create an environment and a culture where when you woke up in the morning and you walked in our building, you had a smile on your face and you were excited to see what the coaches had in store for you that day. And so we strive for that every single day, and we're not perfect. We fall short of that sometimes, but we try to create that environment that people love to do what we're doing every single day, and we strive like hell to make that a reality. Anyone who's watched us play knows that we faced adversity. We had to work hard to prepare ourselves for that adversity. We knew it was coming. In 2019, we didn't know what it would look like. We were hoping it wouldn't be in the form of 2-14, but unfortunately it was. And the way that we prepared for that adversity was by building relationships with our players and our coaches. We had TikTok challenges. We had Jeopardy competitions. We had one-on-one basketball tournaments. We have free throw contests every Saturday in our building. We had one-on-one, very difficult conversations in my office, coaches' offices with players, trying to get our points across sometimes. But we felt like the only way to reach success ultimately was to build those relationships so that when we faced that adversity, we were all in this thing together. We all had a shared vision. We all understood where we were trying to go, and we make it through that adversity. And we had to work like crazy to build that trust and loyalty in one another. And that served us well here in 2021. It's going to serve us well in the future as well. We knew that when adversity hit, we were going to be ready, and we were going to be more connected than the other teams in the league. And I think we've done a good job proving that, but again, we're still going to continue to build on that as well. And I'll tell you this, there's a quote that's always stuck with me, and I think it carries over to sports, I think it carries over to school, I think it carries over to business. And it's this: you never lose, but you always learn. And I know that there's a lot of people that have said in Paul Brown Stadium before and maybe would disagree with that because you feel the losses. Trust me, I feel them too. But what's important is when you're building a culture for a football team, when you're building a business, when you're building things to be the way that you want them to, I always tried my best to not look at those losses as the gut punches they felt like, but opportunities to continue to build on what we wanted to be. And so I can think of no loss that affected me more in the 3 years I've been here than this year when we lost the New York Jets. I think they had 1 or 2 wins. It was a miserable feeling, trust me. I'm sure you all felt it right there with me. But there's no game that propelled us to the Super Bowl more than that loss to the New York Jets. And so that's exactly when I read this quote, you know, you don't lose. You know, I already forgot the quote. You never lose, but you always learn. But I think of that game often. We've shown that to our players many times. Here's moments we missed. Here's opportunities we should have capitalized on, okay? We lost. It's over. Move on. We're going to learn from this, and now we're going to go win the next time we're in this environment. And we did it many times. When we beat the Raiders in our first playoff win in however many years. When we beat the Tennessee Titans on the road for our first road win in program history. When we beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. The team had been to back-to-back Super Bowls. Those were all because we learned from our losses that had happened beforehand. And if we hadn't suffered those defeats, we wouldn't have been where we were. If we'd beaten the Jets that day, I promise you we would not have been in the Super Bowl. We would not have learned anything. So my point is this. I've seen students here. I've seen young leaders in the building. I've seen people who maybe have a lot more experience than I do. But we all know the same thing. You learn through your experiences. Some of them may feel like a punch in the gut, and they may feel like you're never going to rebound. You may be bomb a business meeting, a presentation you were prepared to give, but I promise you, as long as you learn from it, great days will be ahead. And it's worth all the work that you put in to get to where you want to be. And I'm really proud to represent this team, really proud to be a part of this city. Like I said, I'm very happy that you all have accepted my family here because we feel very welcomed. But the last quote I'll leave you with, and I read this one time from one of the Nebraska writers because I think it holds true in Lincoln and it holds true here. And the quote was this: sports are great when your city lifts up your team, but sports are magical when your team lifts up the city. And I agree with that, but I felt like this year we really met in the middle. You know, this team felt the fans in the city really meet us in the middle, and we lifted each other up, and that's what made it so special. And I look forward to doing it again next year. And seeing everybody in Arizona, that's where the Super Bowl is. We got to be back. We got unfinished business. But I appreciate you all having me tonight. Hooday.
Sir, this is actually for you because we've heard that you're the all-star pickleball player in the city of Cincinnati now. So we got you and your family a set of pickleball rackets. We got a little insight from a little guy by the name of Troy Blackburn and Eric Toth over at Hyde Park. So we hope your family enjoys these.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So thanks, Coach. It's been a great intersection tonight of the Cincinnati Bengals on the rescheduled Reds opening day, celebrating one of the greatest assets of the University of Cincinnati. Thanks, Brian, for your leadership. Susan, for your leadership. Julie, for yours. Welcome, David. Congratulations, John and Nick and Michelle and RJ. Speaking of the award winners, will you please come up to the stage after our program is concluded so we can snap some pictures. We didn't waste time during the ceremony snapping those pictures, so we need to get those now. Again, thank you so much for your attendance this evening. I urge you, if you have not made a donation to the center, that QR code, a scan is easy. You will be supporting the youth in this city and Cleveland and the work that we're doing with Smart Path all across the country. Thank you again for being here. Have a great evening. See you next year. Good night.